Hello everyone, good evening to all of you. Welcome to Office Adda 24/7. So this is our second class regarding your Indian financial system. So yes, I will be taking your subject Indian economy, Indian financial system for JAIIB exam. And now if we talk about the Indian economy, Indian financial system subject, we have divided this subject into two parts, as the first two modules belongs to Indian economy and the last two module belongs to your Indian financial system. So today we will be discussing Indian Financial System Module C, Unit 21, and the name of that particular unit is Indian Banking Structure. In the last class, or I can say in the first class of Indian Financial System, we have discussed the Unit 20 that was related to Indian Financial System Overview. So we have seen already what is the overview of financial system, what is financial system, how it works, etc. Now in the financial system, as we have discussed, that financial system is the system in which exchange of funds will be done among the persons who have surplus of money and the persons who have deficit of money. Now, for this particular purpose, for this particular process, we need a certain mediators, and that mediator will be your banking system, because the maximum exchange of funds among the persons who have surplus money and the persons who have deficit of money, that will be done, or it is used to be done till now by the commercial banks. So banking system plays a very important role in any country's financial system. So the 21st unit of Indian financial system related to your Indian banking structure, right? Apart from that, the Indian economy sessions will be on Wednesday. So on Tuesday, I will be meeting with all of you for Indian financial system session, and on Wednesday we will be meeting at the same time for your Indian economy subject, and on the Friday we will be meeting for the principles and practices of banking. So do remember, these 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday, is appointed for your particular Indian financial system, Indian economy, PPB respectively. Okay, so let's start today's session. If we talk about Indian banking structure overview, first of all let's understand what is bank and what is banking. If I'm talking about a bank, what is a bank? Bank is simply an institution or a legal organization which accepts deposit from public and withdraws that deposit on the demand, and also provide the basic facilities of a loan. So bank is simply what? An institution who is performing a business of banking. Now what is the business of banking? The business of banking is simply accepting deposit from public for the purpose of lending or investment, as well as providing withdrawal services on the demand of the customer. This is the core business of banking, and this is what has been provided by bank. But what is bank? Bank is simply a financial institution, a legal organization which accepts deposit and provide the services to the customer, right? So this is what bank is, an institution and financial institution. Now what is banking? Banking, as I have told you, banking business is simply accepting deposit. There are three things that have to be followed. First, accepting deposit from public. Second, for the purpose of lending or investments. And the third one is withdrawal, making the withdrawal facility available for the customer on demand. So these three things, or these three services, are the basic banking, or I can say it is a business of banking that each and every bank is providing, right? So let's start the session. Before that, I am your mentor for JAIIB October, or any JAIIB paper whenever you want to give your JAIIB paper for your Indian economy, Indian financial system, as well as principles and practice of banking. Okay, so let's start the session, and first we will be discussing about what particular module and unit. So the module today is C and the unit is 21, that is Indian banking structure, and the last class we have taken for Indian financial system overview. So let's start. Now what is banking? Banking is defined under the section 5B of Banking Regulation Act, that used to be known as Banking Companies Act. So Banking Regulation Act 1949 section 5B talks about banking is the accepting for the purpose of lending or investment of deposit of money from the public that will be repayable on demand or otherwise, and withdrawable by the check, draft, order or otherwise. So it's very simple. I have already told you, like, banking is simply a service that bank is providing to the customer, in which bank accept deposit from the public for the purpose of lending or investment. Okay, and that deposit will be payable or will be repayable to the customer on the customer's demand by using these certain documents. Okay, this is our banking. Now if I talk about section 151C, section 51B talks about the banking definition. If I talk about section 151C, it talks about what is banking company. So the banking company as any company which transact with the business of banking. Now what is the business of banking? Accepting deposit for the purpose of lending or investment. Okay, and that should be repayable on demand with the help of check or something else, whatever method you want. So this is what the business of banking is. Okay, and this is defined under section 151C. Now section 6 of Banking Regulation Act defines in detail the types of activities that banks are authorized to carry out. Like if I talk about, this is the business of banking. So this is not the only services that bank is providing to their customer. Bank provide us mutual fund, demat account, insurance, international credit, debit card, etc. different types of services. Like, so that's why, because the banking business is this. This is the banking business. This is the core business of a bank. But apart from that, so many services has been provided by a bank to the customer, and according to that services, according to or on the basis of that services, we have given the name to the different banking in the banking system. Like we talk about narrow banking, shadow banking, para banking, universal banking, virtual banking. Apart from that, door-to-door banking, relationship banking. So why I have given a different types of banking name here? Because bank is not only performing this activity, that is the business of banking. Bank is providing more than that services. And what services bank are allowed to provide? That is defined under the section 6. Okay. So this is what section 51B, section 151C and section 6 talks about. Another important aspect of banking in India is that the terms of section 7(1) of the Banking Regulation Act, no company other than a banking company use as part of its name any words that can be a bank, banker, banking, and no company shall carry on the business of banking in India unless it uses a parts of its name at least one of such words. So it defines, like you can use the word bank, banking, banker, banking company only and only if you are providing a business of banking. It means if you are accepting deposit for the purpose of lending or investment, and you make that particular deposit repayable on the demand of the customer, then only you can use the term bank, banking, banking company or a banker. Otherwise, no company can use these names. This is the condition that has been defined under the Banking Regulation Act now. So further, section 7(2) states that no firm, individual or group of individuals shall, for the purpose of carrying on any business, use as parts of his company or his name any of the words like this. Let's say, for example, if I talk about Adda 24/7, this is a edtech company, and this company also accepts money from the public in the form of investment. We are accepting money from the public in the form of investment because we have issued our shares in the market, because it's very obvious we need money to expand our business. We need money to continue our business because we don't have that money. So the owners of the company, they have to raise capital from the market. So they are accepting deposit from the public. They are accepting money from the public. But they are not accepting that particular money just to provide loan to someone else, just to provide, just to give the investment facility there. No. They accepted money from public. Adda 24/7 accepted money from public for its own services, right? To expand its own business, to provide classes to the student, to have a studio in the organization, to have all the basic requirements of the company which is required to provide the basic banking services, or not the banking services, but each and every type of different study materials or classes or your mock tests or etc. So whatever capital is required to run this particular business, we are also accepting that money from public, but we are not using that money for the lending or investment purpose. Obviously, we are using that money to provide our own services to the customers. That is UR. So Adda 24/7 cannot use the name bank, banking, banking company or a banker. This is what the simple sections of this particular topic is talking about. Okay, so we have seen certain important sections of Banking Regulation Act, and that is very important. Okay, now if I talk about history of banking, let's discuss certain history of banking because it is also important to understand and we have to cover this. So first of all, the formal financial system. In the last class we have discussed the formal financial system. Now what is formal financial system? The formal financial system is simply a system where legal regulators are there, rules, regulations are there who are using or who are making it possible for each and every institutions to follow the rules and regulations in the country. That is your formal financial system. So formal financial system is simply a kind of financial system in which rules, regulations are there, regulatory bodies are there. So in our country, the formal financial system started in the year 1770, and that was started with the help of a bank, that was Bank of Hindustan. So the banking history in India starts from the Bank of Hindustan that was established in the year 1770. And this bank was the first bank of country. This was the first bank of India. And it had its headquarters in Kolkata. Okay, it was the first bank in India. After this, if I talk about, there are certain banks established, like 1806 year was there. In 1806 we have find out that Bank of Calcutta was established. Here Bank of Calcutta was established. But this bank's name has been changed. This bank's name has been changed in 1809 from Bank of Calcutta to Bank of Bengal. From Bank of Calcutta, its name has been changed in Bank of Bengal in the year 1809. After that, we have established in 1840 the next bank. That bank was known as your Bank of Bombay. We have established Bank of Bombay. And after 1840, the next important bank was established in 1843 year, and that bank name was Bank of Madras. And these three banks, so it's very obvious that the history of banking is a very huge history. The history of banking is very huge. So we do not have to cover each and every bank because that is not required. But yes, the certain important banks are required to be remembered, required to be learned in which particular year they have been established. So if I talk about 1806, 1840, 1843, it means Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay and Bank of Madras. These three banks used to known as the Presidency Bank. They used to known as what bank? The Presidency Bank. We used to have three Presidency banks. After this, these three Presidency banks have been converted in 1921 in the Imperial Bank of India. In which bank? In Imperial Bank of India, we have converted these three Presidency banks by their amalgamation. So the amalgamation of three Presidency banks was done in 1921 and the name has been given as a Imperial Bank of India, right? Then this Imperial Bank of India further converted in 1955 in State Bank of India. On 1st July 1955, we have converted this Imperial Bank of India in SBI, State Bank of India. So do remember this, that how SBI was formulated, how SBI was established. Earlier we used to have three Presidency banks, and then these three Presidency banks amalgamated and made the Imperial Bank of India. After that, this Imperial Bank of India converted into SBI. So these are the important bank in history. Apart from these, if I talk about what are the rest bank which is important for the history of banking. In 1865, one important bank has been introduced. That bank was, or that I can say established. One important bank was established. That was known as Allahabad Bank. You all have heard about this bank name. Hana, Allahabad Bank. And this bank used to be the oldest commercial bank which was still in running until 2022. Because what happened in 2022? In 2022, this bank was merged. Sorry, not 22, 2020. In April 2020, this bank has been merged with Indian Bank. And the name after merger to this bank given the name of Indian Bank. So Allahabad Bank used to be known as the oldest commercial bank which is still working in the country till 2020. In April 2020, we have merged this particular Allahabad Bank with the Indian Bank, and now these banks are known as an Indian Bank. Okay, in 1881, we have seen Audh Commercial Bank. This Audh Commercial Bank is also known as Awadh Commercial Bank. This Audh Commercial Bank is also known as what? Awadh Commercial Bank. Okay, and this was the first bank of limited liability. The first bank which has been introduced with the limited liability, it was the Audh Commercial Bank, or this is the also reason, the limited liability is the also reason because of which Audh Commercial Bank have been failed, or it failed. Okay. Then after that, in 1894, again very important bank was established, that was the Punjab National Bank. Now do remember, if you are using a Macmillan book, if you are reading from a book, in that particular book, the year of Punjab National Bank has been given 1874. So do not confuse yourself with that. That is misprinted in the book. 1894 is the right year of Punjab National Bank. So do make sure you read the right year of establishment of a bank, right? So 1894 is the Punjab National Bank's establishment. Clear? Now in April 2020, one more merger was there. In April 2020, one more merger was there. Punjab National Bank merged with two other banks, that is United Bank of India and Oriental Bank of Commerce. These three banks have been merged and the name given to the Punjab National Bank. So this merger also happened in the year 2020. Okay, this UBI is not a Union Bank of India, it is a United Bank of India. So United Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce has been merged with the Punjab National Bank in the year April 2020. Now, this is the history. Apart from that, after this 1894, the next important year is 1921, in which what we have done? We have done the amalgamation. The amalgamation of three presidency bank. The amalgamation of three presidency bank formed which particular bank? The Imperial Bank of India. Formed the Imperial Bank of India. Achha, if I talk about amalgamation, there are so many terms you have heard like joint venture, merger, amalgamation, acquisition. These are the simple words that you have heard about like millions of times in the newspaper, in the news, etc. Now, what does amalgamation mean? A simple way to understand amalgamation is when we were students, when we were in the school, right? So we have studied chemistry, and in chemistry we have to do certain practical. So when we went to do a practical, we have seen this thing, like if we are amalgamating one or two chemicals together, always they will create a new chemical. Same pattern or same concept is there in the amalgamation. If you amalgamate one or two company, two or three company, 4 or 5 companies, or the banks or any entity, they will always create a new entity, a new name has been given. Similarly, here it has been done. Presidency Bank of Bengal, Presidency Bank of Bombay and Presidency Bank of Madras, these three were the banks that has been amalgamated together. And after the amalgamation of these presidency banks, we found the Imperial Bank of India. We found what? We found the Imperial Bank of India. Clear? So do remember the amalgamation happened in the year 1921. After that, in 1926, it was the first recommendation of Hilton-Young Commission. The Hilton-Young Commission is also known as the Royal Commission on Indian Currency. So Hilton-Young Commission here recommended to establish the central bank, to establish the RBI. So the first time we talked about in the country to have a central bank of the country, that was the year 1926, and Hilton-Young Commission recommended this, or you can call it a Royal Commission on Indian Currency also, right? So this is the 1926 year. After that, in 1928, this Hilton Young Commission was rejected. In 1931, Indian Currency Committee, or I can say simply Indian Central Banking Committee was introduced that has again recommended that we need a central bank of the country. After the report of that committee in 1934, we have passed RBI Act. So RBI Act 1934 was passed. And on the basis of this particular act, on 1st of April 1935, we have established Reserve Bank of India. Establishment of RBI was done on 1st of April 1935. Now, one important thing, when we were establishing Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of our country, or you can call it an apex bank of the country, we needed the initial capital of 5 crore. How much capital? 5 crore capital was required. But it was not there with the government. So what have been done? RBI's share have been issued in the market. And that has been purchased by individual persons. It means what? Like the persons, like me, like you, we have purchased the share of RBI. And that's why RBI at that time was the private shareholders bank. Because the money, the 5 crore initial capital which was required to establish RBI, that has been given by the public. And that's why the RBI was stated as a private shareholders bank. So can I say that RBI still is a private shareholders bank? Can I say that? So your answer will be no. RBI is not anymore a private bank. So RBI has been converted from private ownership to the public ownership. And how it has been done? With the help of nationalization. Now what is nationalization? Nationalization means simply when the government purchases 51% shares or more than 51% shares of a private entity and give its own ownership to the bank. That is known as nationalization. So RBI was nationalized on 1st of January 1949. And since then RBI is Government of India's bank. So the nationalization of RBI was done. Nationalization of RBI was done in the year 1949. Clear? I hope it is clear. Now next, if I am talking about nationalization of RBI, it has been done, it became Bank of Government of India. So can I say that now whatever government says, RBI has to follow that? Whether it is right or wrong, can I say that because it's a government owned bank now? So answer will be no. The reason behind it is this act. RBI has its own act, so RBI will take its own decision on the basis of the Central Board of Directors of RBI. And the Central Board of Directors of RBI cover 21 members. And these members decide what to do and what not to do. It's very obvious. Government says will always be there in the decisions of RBI. But it's not like whatever government says that has to be fulfilled. No. The decisions will be taken by RBI itself because RBI got its own act. So it has their statutory power with them. Clear? Now, apart from that, this is the RBI's history. In 1949, one important act was introduced or passed, I can say. That was the Banking Regulation Act. This Banking Regulation Act used to be known as your Banking Companies Act, but now it is Banking Regulation Act. After this, the next important year is 1952, in which one particular committee, that was A.D. Gorewala Committee, was introduced. And this committee introduced for the establishment of SBI. Why this committee was introduced? For the establishment of SBI, this A.D. Gorewala committee was created. And on the recommendation of this committee, on 1st of July 1955, on 1st of July 1955, establishment, or not the establishment I can say, but I can say Imperial Bank of India converted into SBI. In this year, what happened? The Imperial Bank of India was converted into SBI, State Bank of India. So the establishment of SBI is 1st July 1955. And if I talk about the 1st July is also celebrated as a GST day. this date is also important as a GST day because we have to read fiscal policy in the Indian economy subject. There in the fiscal policy there will be a taxation, obviously, because fiscal policy is the budget of government of India, and budget will never be completed without the taxes. And the major tax and very important tax of our economy is GST. So GST was introduced on 1st July 2017. So the 1st July also celebrated as GST day as well as SBI establishment day. Okay, next. So this is the 1st July 1955. After this, SBI associates were created. Associate banks means the helping bank of the SBI. So 1956 to 59, associates of SBI was established. Okay, SBI associate banks were established, and there used to be total 8 associate banks. There was total 8 associate banks. Clear? But now there are no State Bank of India's associate working right now. So State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of Bikaner, State Bank of Jaipur, State Bank of Travancore, State Bank of Indore, State Bank of Patiala I have taken, State Bank of Saurashtra is there. Apart from that, State Bank of Madras is there. So State Bank of Mysore is there, sorry, not Madras, Mysore. So these are the 8 banks of SBI associate banks. Now they all have been merged in the SBI in the last year 2017. Okay, after that no associate has been introduced. So this is the banking history you have to remember. These are the important years that you have to remember. Okay, apart from that, the merger of SBI is also important. In 1963, the first merger of State Bank of India's associate has been done. So the State Bank of Bikaner and State Bank of Jaipur, they both have been merged and they have been named as a State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur. First merger. The second merger happened in 2008, in which the State Bank of Saurashtra was merged in State Bank of India. In 2010, the State Bank of Indore has been merged in State Bank of India. This is Indore, not India. State Bank of Indore merged in State Bank of India. And in 2017, that was the last year of merger of associate banks. The remaining 5 associate banks, associate bank plus Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Bharatiya Mahila Bank was the public sector bank which was established in the year 2013, but it was merged in 2017 in State Bank of India. If I talk about these banks, they all merged in State Bank of India. Okay, they all have been merged in State Bank of India. So do remember, there used to be 8 associate banks of SBI, but now there is no associate bank of SBI because all have been merged. And if I talk about SBI, SBI is the largest public sector bank of our country, and the reason behind it, a lot of banks has been merged with the SBI. So it's very obvious SBI will have more branches, more customer base, more deposit, more capital to run the bank. And that's how SBI became the biggest bank of the country. Clear? So this is what we have discussed in the history of banking in India. So do remember, the formal financial system, or I can say the history of banking in India, started from the year 1770 with the Bank of Hindustan, first bank of our country, right? Now next we talk about the nationalization. Now what is nationalization? I have given you a little bit idea about nationalization. So first of all, if I talk about the nationalization, it is simply a process. A process of what? A process of converting a private entity into a public entity. It means transferring the ownership from private to public, from individual to government. That is the nationalization. So how it has been done? When government of the country purchases 51% or more than 51% shares. 51% or more than 51% shares purchased by government. Then this process is known as nationalization. It's not like government owned these shares because government have established this bank. No, government purchased this share. And purchased by government, purchased from whom? Purchased from private ownership. So from private ownership, if government of India or any government of the country purchases the 51% shares or more than that shares, this is known as nationalization. This is known as what? This is known as nationalization. Now, if I talk about the nationalization in our country right now, at present, how many nationalized banks are there? If I talk about at present the number of nationalized banks, we have 11 nationalized banks. How many nationalized banks we have? We have 11 nationalized banks. Okay, but they used to be more than 11. So if I talk about nationalization, the first nationalization happened in or on a particular date, that was 19 July 1969. In 1969, the first nationalization of commercial bank was done with the help of Bank Nationalization Act 1969, in which 14 major commercial banks were nationalized. How many? 14 major commercial banks were nationalized. Now, why only 14? Why not more than 14? Because if I talk about banks, the first Bank of India established in the year 1770. Since 1770 to 1969, we have hundreds of banks, but only 14 banks were nationalized. Reason? Because there was a condition, and that condition was minimum public deposit should be 50 crore. Minimum deposit that was required by the bank was 50 crore. So government said those banks who have minimum 50 crore public deposit, they will be nationalized. You can see the major word we have used. Major means on what condition? On the basis of the public deposit. So minimum 50 crore deposit or more than that deposit banks in India was only 14. And that's why only 14 banks were nationalized. And if I talk about the second nationalization, the second nationalization happened on 15th of April 1980. Okay, and here 6 major commercial banks were nationalized. 6 major commercial banks were nationalized. Now, why only 6? Because here also there was a condition, and the condition here was minimum deposit that required was 200 crore. And we have only 6 that type of banks in India that have minimum 200 crore public deposit. So only 6 bank has been nationalized. So these are the 2 years on which we have done the nationalization of the bank in India, that is 1969 and 1980. So now you can see we have total 20 nationalized banks. How many nationalized banks? We have 20 nationalized banks. But right now we have only 11 nationalized banks. So where are other nationalized banks? They have been merged. Now we are going to talk about the merger of nationalized bank. We are going to talk about merger of nationalized banks. So if I talk about nationalized banks here, the first merger of nationalized bank happened in the year 1993. So on 4th of September, these years are very important. Do make sure you remember this year. In 1993, the new Bank of India, merged with which bank? Punjab National Bank. Which bank? Punjab National Bank. So after this merger, we had only 19 banks remained because one bank was merged. Now after 1993, the next merger happened in 2019. So the 1st April 2019 was the second year where we have done the merger. So here Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank, they both has been merged with which particular bank? Merged in Bank of Baroda. So in Bank of Baroda, the Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank has been merged. So after this merger, we left with the 17 nationalized bank only because 2 more banks were merged. Then after this, the third major merger was happened on the year or in the year 2020. where a lot of banks have been merged. The first bank that has been merged was Punjab National Bank. Here I have told you PNB, United Bank of India and Oriental Bank of Commerce was merged. After this merger, two banks have been merged now. So after this merger, we left with the 15 nationalized bank. Then the second merger was of Union Bank of India. So Union Bank of India merged with Andhra Bank plus Andhra, AB means Andhra Bank here, है ना? And then the Corporation Bank. So after this, we left with the 13 nationalized bank. Then we got third bank, that is Canara Bank. So Canara Bank was merged with the Syndicate Bank, and after this we left with the 12 nationalized bank. And the last merger was Indian Bank. So Allahabad Bank and Indian Bank was merged, and after that we left with the 11 nationalized bank, and this is how many banks right now we have. Okay, this is how many banks right now we have. So these are the merger of nationalized banks. Clear? So right now we have how many banks? We have 11 nationalized banks. So these are the merger in 2019-20. You can see I haven't written the name there. I have written the initials of the bank, but here the names has been merged for the 2019 and 2020 year. Okay, Bank of Baroda, Dena Bank, Vijaya Bank, PNB, Oriental United, Union, Andhra Corporation, Canara Syndicate, Indian Allahabad. So these are the banks which has been merged in these years. Okay, now next we have a types of banks. So I hope till now everything is clear to all of you. Those candidates who have joined us already live, let me know, is it clear to all of you? Let me know, is it clear to all of you? Okay, so let's continue. If I talk about the types of bank, I will not be discussing the description of the banks today, but I will be discussing the overall flow chart. If I am talking about types of bank, the first bank of our country or the authority, or I can say the central bank of our country is RBI. So first of all, we will have RBI, Reserve Bank of India. This Reserve Bank of India was divided into two categories. That was first, schedule bank, and the second category was non-scheduled bank. So RBI has divided Indian banks into two categories, scheduled bank and non-scheduled bank. And then this scheduled bank further divided into three categories, and those categories known as, the first one we have commercial banks. The second one we have non-commercial banks. And the third one we have cooperative banks. Commercial, non-commercial and cooperative bank, these were the three categories of scheduled banks. Okay. Now under commercial bank we have three banks category, that is public sector bank. One second. That is public sector bank, then private sector bank, and then we have foreign banks. These are the three categories under the commercial bank. Under public sector bank, we have further two categories of State Bank of India and the Nationalized Bank. And we know there are 11 nationalized banks. We know there are how many banks? 11 nationalized banks. So it's very obvious we have 12 public sector banks here. Okay, now further the cooperative banks have been divided into three categories, the three major categories: State Cooperative Bank, District Central Cooperative Bank, and the Primary Credit Society. These are the three categories: Primary Credit Society, District Central Cooperative Bank, and State Cooperative Bank. Primary works at village, district works at district, and state works at the state level. Now the non-scheduled banks have the further categorized in the local area banks, and we have local area banks here which are not defined under the second schedule of RBI Act. Clear? So this is the flow chart of the banking system. Apart from that, we have the other three important banks also. They are the part of scheduled banks and commercial bank. So this commercial bank also include regional rural banks. They include payment banks. They include small finance banks. Right? So these are also the other categories of the scheduled commercial banks, RRBs, payment bank, small finance bank. They have been established for a particular different purpose, for a specific purpose. That's why we define them differently. Okay? So these are the banks which are right now running in the country. Okay? The explanation of each and every bank I will be giving you in the next class, but this is the types of bank we are talking about here. Okay? Now, so you can see here, under the scheduled bank, we have commercial bank, we have cooperative bank, public sector, private sector, foreign bank, local area bank, RRBs, payment bank, small finance bank, then state cooperative bank, district cooperative bank, urban cooperative bank. These are the banks. And if I talk about the cooperative credit institutions, we have rural cooperative institutions, urban cooperative institution. In rural, short-term credit institution, state cooperative bank, district cooperative bank, primary credit societies. Primary agriculture credit societies are there. Then long-term credit institution, that is the land development bank is there. Okay. And in urban cooperative banks, we have state, district and urban cooperative banks. Clear? So these are the cooperative credit institutions in our country. Each and every one we will be discussing in the detail, but in the next class. So I have given you the idea what are the different types of banks we have in the country. Okay? Clear? So now we are going to discuss certain questions related to the same topic, that is your Indian banking structure. So let me remind you all. First of all, banks are what? Banks are financial institution. Banking is what? The business of banking that bank is providing, like accepting deposit, providing withdrawal and accepting deposit for the purpose of lending or investment. Okay. Next, apart from that, we have history of bank that is started from the year 1770. Then we have our nationalization of the banks that has been done in the year 1969 and 1980. Then we have multiple types of bank in our country, that is all regulated by Reserve Bank of India. Right? Now we are going to discuss certain questions on the same topic which we have discussed today, and you all have to answer here that which of the following option is correct, because in the end of the class also I will be asking how many answers you have given the right. Also with the explanation I will explain the questions. Okay? So let's start the practice of first question. So the first question here we have in terms of which section of Banking Regulation Act the business of banking is defined. So what we have to answer here, like in which particular section the business of banking is defined, that's the question is asking about. Now what is business of banking? I have told you multiple times. First of all, do answer which of the following section is right. Section 5, Section 8, Section 10 or Section 6. Now what is business of banking? Business of banking includes three things. The first one will be in which we are talking about accepting deposit. Second, on the purpose of lending or investment. Third, repayable that deposit on the demand by the check or draft, something other document. So that's what we are talking about here, Banking Regulation Act, that is business of banking we are talking about. So it is defined under which particular section? It is defined under your Section 5. Section 5(1)(b) talks about like what is the actual business of banking is. Okay. So right answer here will be your which particular option? Option number A. Now, second question. 1 second. Now, the second question is talking about that in which year Reserve Bank of India established. So if I talk about RBI, we have seen RBI's whole history. So years here is given 1947, 1925, 1935 or 1955. First of all, in 1926, first time the Hilton Young Commission, or I can say Royal Commission on Indian Currency, recommended that we should have our central bank in the country. In 1928, this Hilton Young Commission recommendation was rejected by the Parliament. In 1931, Indian Central Bank Committee was created that said that we need the central bank of the country. And then in 1934, RBI Act was established. And on 1st of April 1935, RBI was established in the country. Also, I want to know what was initially RBI's was ownership. Like initially RBI was government's bank or private bank? Let me know in the comment section. What was the initial ownership of RBI, central bank of our country? Okay, now next we have here, the next question we have here, what is the minimum capital requirement for setting up a universal bank? Now, what is a universal bank? So I have told you that business of banking is a very basic three facility that a bank has to provide. But apart from that, multiple services bank is providing to the customer. So universal banking is one of that type of banking in which under one roof you will get all the kinds of facilities related to commercial investment, everything. It means when you go to a bank, you will find deposit, withdrawal, lending facility, as well as you can purchase mutual funds, you can purchase insurance, you can have a pension funds there, you can enroll yourself in the government social welfare schemes, you can have a demat account, you can purchase, you can have international debit credit card, you can have check facility, you can have demand draft facility, you can have locker facility, etc. So under a roof, all kinds of services will be provided to you by the bank. Now that type of bank is known as universal bank, that was first introduced in India, the concept by ICICI Bank. And the universal bank requires initial capital to be established as a 500 crores. Okay, so if we talk about public sector bank, private sector bank, foreign bank, these all are the types of universal bank. Okay, and they need 500 crore initial capital to be established. Now, what is the minimum capital requirement for setting up a small finance bank? So what is a small finance bank? The purpose of establishing a small finance bank was to do the financial inclusion. Now, what is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion means to link each and every person of the country with the financial product and services. And that should be done at an affordable cost, a cost that can be afforded by each and every person of the country. That is the reason of introducing the small finance bank. And the initial capital that is required right now to open a small finance bank, that is 200 crore. Okay, how much initial capital is required? 200 crore initial capital is required. Now, the maximum balance that a payment bank can maintain in each account. So, how much deposit can be accepted by payment bank from the customer? Now, what is payment bank? First of all, let me tell you. Payment bank is simply a bank that was also introduced for the purpose of financial inclusion. But it works with a limited liability. It means they can accept a limited deposit from the customer, per customer. Initially, this bank was introduced in the year 2015, and that time RBI said only 1 lakh per customer is allowed to be accepted by payment banks. Now, this limit have been increased by RBI and now it is 2 lakh rupees. So, earlier it was 1 lakh and now it has what? 2 lakh rupees. So per customer, 2 lakh deposit can be accepted by the payment banks, and this limit has been enhanced by Reserve Bank of India. Okay, and the purpose of establishing payment bank was the same as the small finance bank. Clear? Now, match the following in front of you. Question has given you the name of the banks, the name of the institute, and the year of establishment. Now you have to answer which of the following is the correct combination of establishment. If I talk about Punjab National Bank, Indian Bank, the First Bank of Presidency Bank, the Bank of Madras, and the Imperial Bank of India, you have to match their years. So Punjab National Bank was established in the year 1894. Again, I am repeating, in a book it has the year establishment year of PNB has been given 1874, and that is wrong, that is misprinted. The right year of Punjab National Bank is 1894. Okay. Second, we have the Indian Bank, and the Indian Bank was established in 1907. Third, we have First Presidency Bank. Let me know in the comment section what is the name of First Presidency Bank. So the First Presidency Bank was established in 1806. and that was initially known as Bank of Calcutta, and very good, now it is known as Bank of Bengal. In 1809, its name has been changed. Now the Bank of Madras, that's a third presidency bank, because second was Bombay. The third presidency bank was established in the year 1843, because in 1840 Bank of Bombay was established. And the last one, Imperial Bank of India, was created after the amalgamation of all the presidency banks in 1921, right? So this is the right match for your options. So if we talk about the first, we'll have E option. This is not right. This is not right. This is also not right. So let's check all the options here. First is E. Second, we have D. Third, we have C. Fourth, we have B. And fifth, we have A. Very good. So the right answer will be your D option. Right option, the match the following option here is D option. Clear? Next. Which among the following are the correct types of cooperative bank? So we are talking about here, which among the following are the correct types of cooperative banks. So we know cooperative banks are mainly working for agriculture sector. They work for which particular sector? They work for agriculture sector, and they help to develop the agriculture sector of the country at different level, at state level, at central level, at district level, at village level, etc. Now, state cooperative bank, central cooperative bank, okay. Rural cooperative bank, urban cooperative bank. Then rural cooperative bank, agriculture cooperative bank, no. State cooperative bank, agriculture cooperative bank, no. So first and second, let's say, there is no such kind of central cooperative banks are there. State, district and village is there. So right answer will be rural cooperative bank and the urban cooperative bank. And I have just showed you also now, the rural and urban, two category has been given to the cooperative credit institutions. This is what? Rural and urban. So right answer will be your B option. Okay. Now next question. Next question talks about, it is saying that fill in the blanks in relation to the concept of capital requirement under the small finance banks. So small finance banks has been introduced for which purpose? It was introduced because of the purpose of your financial inclusion. So two blanks have been given and we have to fill these two blanks. First is saying the minimum paid up equity capital for setting up a small finance bank was originally fixed at dash crores. This was subsequently increased to dash crores except for the urban cooperative bank that get converted themselves into small finance bank. So also remember, payment banks can be converted after 5 years into small finance bank, as well as urban cooperative banks are also allowed to be converted in your payment banks. Okay, so this is what we have discussed here, that both the banks will be able to convert it in your small finance bank. And when the small finance bank in the first time it was introduced in the year 2015, RBI said that initial capital is required is 100 crore. That was increased by RBI to 200 crore. So right answer will be B option, that is 100 and 200. Clear? So initially it was 100, now it is 200. For payment bank it was initially 100 and still it is 100 crore for payment banks. Okay, so do remember, for commercial bank it is 500 crores. For a small finance bank now it is 200 crore. For payment bank it is 100 crore. For universal bank it is 500 crore. Okay, so these are the capital requirement to establish a particular bank. So now let me know, out of all the total questions, how many questions you have given answer right. How many questions you have given answer right. So this is simply a basic understanding of the topic that we had today, and more than that if you want to cover the subject, because if you can see the book, the chapter is very huge, in which FinTech, RegTech, so many things we have to cover. Now that will be available for all of you, that will be continued for all of you in Mahapack 2.0 of JAIIB. Okay, it will cover English classes, bilingual classes, Sankalp, all batches will be there, PDFs, ebooks, video classes, recording classes, everything will be available for all of you in this particular Mahapack. Clear? Now, this is your schedule of YT. So I will be meeting you with all of you for English medium session for IFS on Tuesday, for Indian economy on Wednesday. It means tomorrow at the same time we are meeting for Indian economy. And on Friday I will be there with the principles and practices of banking. Clear? Apart from that, Saturday, Sunday we will have a special sessions, and the schedule for that will be available for you on Friday and Saturday. Clear? Now, how to enroll. First of all, let me tell you how to enroll in a particular batch if you want to join the detailed batch of JAIIB. So first download the Adda 24/7 application if you haven't done that. After downloading the application, go to the JAIIB CIB section here. When you click here, you will find the JAIIB October tab. Click on this particular tab. You will find all the upcoming batches and running batches. So these are the Sankalp batch 3 that is going to start from 24th of July. Sankalp 1 and Sankalp 2 batch is already running. So latest batch is Sankalp 2 that is already started from 10th of July. The third will start on 24th of July. To enroll in any particular batch, just go to the particular product, read all the details, what will be available, do read all these details and click on the buy now option. When you click on the buy now option, you will find the discount code here that will be July 77. July 77 right now is available. You will get 77% discount, and if you purchase the same from Adda 24 application, you will get 1% additional coins. So 1% additional discount will be available for all of you. Okay, so this is the information for all of you regarding your batch and also regarding your Unit 21 Indian banking structure. The rest we will be discussing in the next class that will be on next Tuesday, only on Officers Adda 24/7. Okay, so let me know in the comment section how these classes are helping you, how this is helpful. If you want certain changes in the classes, or if you want a particular topic to be understood, or that topic can be should be taken on the YouTube class for all of your help, so you can also let me know that in the comment section. Okay, so let's end the session. Last but not the least, if you are new to the channel of Officers Adda 24/7, do not forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. And every day we are going to meet at 8 p.m. for your JAIIB English medium. And if you are preparing for JAIIB but you need a bilingual session, that will be available Monday to Saturday at 7 p.m. Okay, so see you all tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. for Indian Economy English medium class. Thank you all. Take care.